Ruth Nelson, founder of BYOP on the Go, and your host tonight. My co-host is former BYOP player Jayden Hisel, who will talk with the COO of the Texas High School Coaches Education Foundation. We're excited to learn more about her new role since she left high school coaching, and will explore her thoughts on the recent 2023 Texas High School Coaching School held in Houston last month. Many of her projects and programs are continuing to provide an excellent opportunity for Texas teachers and coaches to expand their education and experiences. So Jayden, let's get to our featured guest, and welcome Libby Pacheco to the BYOP on the Go.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. And Jayden, I'm excited for this. I'm really transparent and an open door. So I'm open for anything.
All right. So let's get going, and we're going to show a short video that has some highlights and events that Libby's been part of with her current position of COO. And if you want to add anything to this, Libby, you can.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. It's been a fun journey for sure. Just like you said, moving into that transition between that coaching world and dealing with athletes, and then into this new role. It's been a whirlwind of last year and a half. That's great. That's good stuff.
All right. So now what we'll do is we're going to jump. I can't tell you whether we're going to get through all these questions or not. But Jayden, you go for it because you've got the first questions going.
Alrighty. So after coaching at numerous high schools and being active in the administration, could you tell us more about that journey?
Absolutely. So my favorite job that I've held so far, and I've had some really amazing jobs, but it has been just to be called coach, and being able to work directly with athletes. There's definitely having assistants and working with assistants and game planning, the time that you get to spend in practices, developing relationships with kids and parents and officials. It's just, and I love my job, but I do still miss coaching, and I miss those relationships. I got to a point in my coaching career where I just felt and I saw, and I think Ruth and I have actually talked about this a little bit too, a need for some mentorship, and a desire to impact kind of on a bigger scale, not just within my own program, or even just on my own campus, but on a district level. And so made the switch over to athletic administration. I did that at a time when I really spent a lot of time at a great school and a really great program. I opened up Byron Nelson, and I knew I was leaving a really an amazing team. And they were going to be successful, and they're still successful. And I left knowing that I left it in a really good spot. So I think a lot of times coaches leave, or they retire, they get out of coaching on the downhill, or they leave when they've had a bad season, or they're just fed up and they get pushed out of coaching. And I was fortunate enough to where that wasn't the case. I really enjoyed what I was doing and where I was at. I just felt this calling to do something bigger. And so I made that leap, and fortunately I had the opportunity to make that leap and get into an administration role, an athletic administration role in the district. But I just missed coaching, and there was always just that tug, and I don't think it was completely out of my system, even though everybody asked me, like, are you sure you're done coaching? Are you sure you're done coaching? And I kept saying, yes. And so then I think God puts you in positions at the right time, puts opportunities in front of you just right when you need them at the right time. And I had the opportunity to take over another really good program at Coppell. I did that for a season, and enjoyed the parents, enjoyed the kids, just really enjoyed my time there. But unbeknownst to me, there was this other opportunity waiting out there. And as soon as our volleyball season was done at Coppell, the very next day, Joe Martin and Glenn West from THSCA gave me a call and asked me about this current opportunity. So that's really kind of that journey and what that looked like.
Wow. That's impressive and fun, Jayden, huh? Because we wanted to know, does she okay with getting out of coaching?
I was gonna say, yeah, did you miss it?
And I do. And I will tell you, like today's, like these, August is terrible for me. It really is. It's emotional. It's gut wrenching. It was gut wrenching when I was in the athletic office. In fact, that very first year that I got out of coaching, my husband was like, we're getting away. First day of volleyball, like, you don't need to be around. You don't need to be thinking about it. So he took me on a trip. We went hiking and all kinds of stuff. And then, then this time of year when we're in tournament season and it's tryouts and everything's ramping up and I'm looking at all my friends and they're all over the state and having successes and building those relationships with kids, it still tears at my heart and it's still gut wrenching. And to be real honest with you, I hope it always is, because I think some of the administrators who forget what it's like to be in the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I think they struggle and they lose a connection. And so I do hope that I will always miss coaching. Ask me 5 years from now and I don't know.
Okay, Jayden, let's hear a little bit more with this next question, because we have a lot of our viewers that have asked these kind of questions that we couldn't answer. So Jayden?
So could you please tell our viewers about the Texas High School Coaches Association and the THSC Education Foundation? How are they different and when do they work together on events like the 2023 Texas High School Coaching School in Houston?
So yeah, that's a lot of questions wrapped up into that. So I'm not going to chase rabbits here. I'm going to give you guys kind of a brief bullet points of this. First of all, Texas High School Coaches Association. It's been around for 93 years.
Wow.
It has historically been a football coach centered organization.
Okay.
And there's nothing, I mean, it's been great. It's done a really, really good job of serving football coaches who typically are also athletic administrators, and they serve a big population on campuses. So they've done a great job, and I think it's synonymous with football.
Okay.
Since Joe and Glenn have taken over, they realized and they felt this calling. They said, you know what, we're not called the Texas Football Coaches Association. It's the Texas High School Coaches Association. And so in an effort to represent our name, they realized they would have to put some effort into what it means to represent everybody, every sport, every gender, every ethnicity, and it was time. Obviously, after 93 years, it was time. There was always a push for the association to do that, and we just needed Joe and Glenn to have that vision to be able to see what that looked like, because it did mean kind of shifting some resources to different population of coaches, and they were willing to do that. In order to guide them, they realized that they needed help, and so they hired myself on the Education Foundation side, and they hired as a COO, and they hired Brian Polk, which coincidentally we both worked at Byron Nelson together. Yeah, we both opened. He was the head football coach, I was head volleyball coach, so we already had that relationship. So
Wow.
it was kind of like getting the big gang back together. So that was great. So here's the difference between the associate. He is the COO of the association. I'm the COO of our Education Foundation. Most of coaches in Texas understand this part, because school districts will also have an education foundation that is specifically connected to a school district that is designed to raise money, raise funds. And that's what the Education Foundation is able to do for tax purposes and for all kinds of nonprofit type reasons, they had to create two different divisions of the association. They have the association side and they have the education foundation side. So the
Okay.
education foundation side is just that. I'm really in charge of educating, anything to do with educating, professional development, raising funds to help our coaches. We have a benevolent program that if our coaches or athletes are in need, have some financial need because of an injury or something traumatic's happened to their family, we're able to help them out through the Education Foundation. We're able to raise money through a nonprofit status through our Education Foundation. So really and truly, because of the educational part, the professional development part, and my background in education, my background in curriculum development and things like that, it just made sense. It was just a really, really good fit. And so really, I don't know if that explains the differences between the association. There's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover stuff because I'm also director of membership development. So, that's obviously membership on the association side. So there's a lot of crossover, but the short answer is it allows us to raise funds to help out our coaches.
Okay, so this question
Gotcha.
is also one question that I have. So Jayden asked this one because this is a good one.
Okay, so as the acting COO of the THSCEF, what are your duties? And is this a new education foundation position?
So the position itself is new. So it was always kind of managed from the association side, but again, being able to focus a little bit more on the education part, the professional development part, the membership development, meaning any kind of program that helps support our coaches. Joe and Glenn realized that they needed to create a completely different position. Again, that's why it just kind of made sense. The Education Foundation actually started in 2008 whenever they realized, hey, we've got to find a better way to support our coaches and to be able to raise funds. There's also a lobbying situation with our Texas Capitol that we're able to do that because we are nonprofit and have our Education Foundation status. So all of those things go into it. So my specific duty, my specific role this is awesome. This is like overall, my job is to do whatever it takes to develop programs to help support our coaches. So if, that's a big, wide goal and it's a big, wide description. But I haven't been told no to anything yet. So it's been fun. So if it's something that our members bring to us that say, hey, this is a program that we really need, we figure it out, we figure out the funding, and we really try to find ways to make it happen. So that's really been a fun job. Could you imagine somebody telling you, hey, whatever you think is best for volleyball coaches, you go do it. Figure out a way to pay for it.
So my question is, are you fundraising or are you just on the program side?
I do a little bit of both. Really and truly. It's mostly on the programming side.
Okay.
We do have this is a fun part of being part of this staff. Really, there are 4 of us that are executive directors, and then we have a great support staff in our office as well, that are on the executive staff, 4 of us. And each of us have very unique talents. So if you imagine putting together a coaching staff where you have to fill in the gaps of what maybe you lack and somebody else has, Joe has done a great job of making sure we're really, really balanced. So in saying that, my talent does not come with fundraising, even though that's a major part of the Education Foundation. Glenn and Brian, they do a fantastic job with that. And they feel comfortable getting in front of people and asking for money. They can sell they can sell anything.
Yeah.
I'm not a salesperson. So I do get on the back end and I'm a cheerleader and I'm like, let's go. But
You have to be a good cheerleader because you need the money to do your programs. Okay, Jayden, this next question is a hot topic.
So, what is it like deciding to leave coaching and begin your administrative duties in high school and now as the COO at THSCEF?
it was it was, again, I feel lucky that when I look back in my career that I left in a really, really good situation. So I feel like I could look back in every place I've been, I can look back and say, hey, I left it better than I found it.
Yep.
And I left it in a good place for whoever was coming behind me. And I wanted that to be the case. And again, I feel like I've been able to accomplish that everywhere I've gone, whether it's been on the coaching side or the administration side. It's just, I've been really lucky to have had that journey, part of my journey. It was, I feel like I'm really religious, and in making those decisions, there's always a lot of prayer and there's a lot of guts, like feeling, which I always contribute to as like the Holy Spirit just kind of guiding me and pulling me in a different direction. And I think anytime I've ever gone against that gut feeling, I've always regretted something or been in a really bad situation. And the times in my life when the opportunities were put in front of me, it was great because there wasn't a bad decision. If I stayed in coaching, would have been a great decision. If I left coaching, that would have been a great decision too. So I was really lucky, and just relying on that gut feeling, like, hey, what am I being called to right now? Where are my talents needed most, or where can I impact the most people? And specifically, where can I have an impact on kids?
Yeah.
It's tough right now because it's all indirect impact.
Yep.
And it's the same thing whenever you go into administration. It's kind of indirect impact. And right now, for sure, it's indirectly.
Okay, Jayden, let's talk about the seat at the table.
Alrighty, so what influenced you to develop the seat at the table, and where do you see this project in the future? Did the Title IX assist you with this project, and why is it essential for more females to coach girls' teams?
So, gosh, Jayden, these are great questions. This is awesome, and I like to talk, so hopefully I'm not gonna go take up too much on this question. So everything you talked about definitely influenced. When I first got into this role, I started in January 2022, and between January and February, I just spent those 2 months traveling with Joe and Glenn, kind of familiarizing myself with the different parts of the state. I was very, very familiar with DFW and the coaches there, but Texas is huge. It's big. And so there's a lot to it. As I started going around with Joe and Glenn, now remember, they're all part of this football world, right? And so I finally now get to step into this role that, to be real honest with you, I didn't know existed, this whole world that was unfamiliar to me. I've always heard about it, and I had no interest in being part of it because I have my own little volleyball community, right?
Right.
But as I'm sitting back in all of these different interactions, whether it's a clinic, whether it's other conventions or meetings, I'm watching these men, football coaches, network and talk about the sport and talk about how they're able to grow and their relationships with each other. I was like, whoa, that is way different than how females interact with each other. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I'm like, and I couldn't explain it. I was like, I don't know how to tell you, Joe and Glenn, but this is unique. Like, this is different. And rewind, when I was an assistant athletic director. So before I got my position, one of my best friends, she's the head volleyball coach at Northwest High School. In the DFW area, and especially that Fort Worth Metroplex. They had started a sort of like a small group cohort discussion group, but it was about anywhere between 10 to 15 volleyball coaches in that area. They would get together about once a month or once every other month and discuss. It started during COVID. They
Okay.
they wanted to figure out, like, what are the best practices? How is your athletic director handling this? How are you handling masks? How are you handling your kids not being on campus? It evolved after COVID to them. They felt a lot of support through that. They felt a lot of value in that. So they continued those conversations and turned into roundtable discussions. I was not allowed in those discussions because at that point I was an administrator. And they didn't want administrators in it because a lot of times they talked about us, talking about how bad their ADs were. So taking that experience, knowing that that was happening and how valuable that was for those coaches, seeing all of this stuff happening on the male side, and then also seeing a void for female coaches of a way for them to get together and share and network. It just naturally evolved. I was like, we've got to take this idea on the road and make it like statewide and share this format with everybody else in the state. So that's really kind of the evolution of it. Included in that was obviously the Title IX impact, and the timing was perfect because it was all happening around the time when Title IX and females and the impact that a female coach can have on a female athlete, how important that is, and being able to try to retain our best coaches, giving them support, all of those things. It was just this perfect storm. It just made sense. What we're hoping happens as it stands right now, anytime we go to a location, it's usually myself and one of the other guys, and we go in and we host this event, but it's just me. Texas is big. And so there is no way we could be everywhere, and we cannot meet the demand right now. So where it has grown and where it will continue to grow from here is we are now creating a whole group of coaches who have gone through this initial discussion, the initial event, and they're able to go and host one for somebody else in their area. So we're creating kind of this whole network of coaches that, hey, we can't make it, but we're going to send somebody over there so that we're not stalling and people aren't just waiting for us when we can get there. So that's going to be fun. It's going to keep growing. That's our second stage, is incorporating all of these other coaches who've gone through the program and are willing to go kind of be our ambassadors and go host an event and a night for us.
Okay, so real quick, then, how do you incorporate Zoom in this, since it allows you to be everywhere?
It does. There's for this particular event, and again, that part, whenever I was able to witness all of the in-person interactions and all the in-person networking, that's going to be, we just see some value in that in-person stuff. And so we want to make sure that that first initial event is in person and we're looking together. Step 3 of this. So the first one, our first phase is we're just trying to get out to everywhere we can. Our second phase is we're incorporating other coaches to be our ambassadors. And then the third phase is we envision a seat at the table discussion happening in DFW on the same night that a seat at the table discussion is happening in Abilene. And virtually we can connect to both of those groups and have that community of coaches, not just in your own area, but now we're talking about a statewide situation. So we've got to get this rolling in little across the state, and then that's kind of our third phase to that, really.
Okay, so your fourth is to incorporate a session at the Texas High School Coaches Association school also?
Coaching school, what we have learned is that the best discussions happen between 20 to 30 people.
Yeah,
And
okay.
because it's like a classroom, and once you get something bigger than that, voices
Yep.
get lost and it becomes really, really tough. However, what we do see happening are small little breakout sessions,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
and whether it's by sport or regionally. So there are those opportunities too that we're always trying to incorporate.
Okay,
Our
Jade,
last
you better
summer,
get on with this next question.
go for it.
That's an excellent explanation, but I want her, these two are important for our conversation today. So Jayden, jump in there.
So, what inspired the THSCA and Baden to host the 2022 Texas Get Together at the ABCA convention?
The big inspiration came whenever I went with Joe and Glenn to the American Football Coaches Association. And again, I had never been. So here I am with this, which is similar to the ABCA. It's and one of the events that has traditionally been held there, they call it the Texas Get Together, and it's huge. Every coach, not just high school coach, but college coach knows. I mean, one of the premier events at the AFCA. It's invitation only. This is when I walked into this room, and there were 2,000, 2,500 football coaches that just showed up. They all knew that this was like a big thing on their schedule. They all knew that they had to get there. They were fighting for invitations. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I asked Joe and Glenn, I said, this is amazing. By the way, we need to do the same thing for volleyball coaches. Like and it's a resource and it's an expense, and it was sponsored. I said, let's find a way to make this happen for volleyball coaches, because more than anything, this job is about relationships. It's relationship with kids, it's relationship with other coaches. And there are so many important conversations that need to happen right now between high school coaches and college coaches. And this is one way to kind of catapult those conversations and to force maybe some relationships to start happening. And so this last year, we got bought in on board. That made sense for them. And we've ended up with a great partnership. And so it's just, it's just been awesome. It's been great.
Nice.
That's great. And I was glad to be there because I witnessed the first one, and I can't wait to see the double amount of Texas coaches that will attend that event because of this event. All right, Jayden, you got the next one.
Just really quick, we just solidified all of that stuff today with ABCA this afternoon. So all right, we're good to go. It's going to happen again.
All righty. Well, when you get that ready to announce it, we'll announce it also on our show.
Fantastic. Okay.
All right, Jayden.
So when might the association begin to provide more activities for the elementary and middle school coaches?
You know, we have a lot of discussion about this. We specifically do have a middle school series at Coaching School that targets that coach that has to deal with mass amounts of kids in a small amount of space in a small amount of time. Because that's really what happens at our middle schools. So we do right now have something specific. It's not 12 hours of volleyball lectures for middle schools, but it does give them a little bit of and honestly, our middle school coaches are also coaching soccer, they're coaching basketball, they're coaching,
multiple sports.
So we try to give them content in every sport that they're going to be coaching in that same thing. So we have something right now for our middle school coaches. We do have conversations about, because a lot of our coaches are also elementary and PE teachers, physical education teachers. We do try to respect the spaces of other associations as well, and maybe partner. There is an association in the state that's really, really strong. It's a PE association. They're called Tayford, and they have their own clinics. They have their own education. So, as of right now, there's well, Joe and Glenn, we haven't said no to anything yet. So I'm not going to say it's not going to ever happen,
Right.
but there are a couple other things right now on the top of our list that we want to tackle and other groups that we want to serve. And we want to, again, kind of support some of those other groups that are already doing a great job with that education, especially at the elementary level.
Okay, Jayden, let's jump into this title line. We're going to keep Libby for an extra few minutes because the conversation is fantastic and we've gotten a lot answered. All right, Jayden.
So, with Title IX influencing girls' sports, do you feel that Texas is a leader in providing opportunities for girls' coaches clinics?
You know, being in this role with seeing like a big overall national picture, for sure, a statewide picture, and getting a glimpse into what other states are doing. I do think, first of all, Texas coaches are just at a different level, and we
Yeah.
have specific certifications. We have various things that we have to follow that really keep us more at a professional level versus a club or a part-time level. So as far as clinics, I mean, I do think that when you look at sports overall, like combined, yes, we offer a lot of resources for our coaches. There are a lot of opportunities for them to get better. Do I think that there's, when in comparison to football, for example, I think volleyball is really, really far behind on the education that is available to them at a price point that is reasonable for them as well. I think there are a lot of organizations that come into Texas, and so coaches want to take advantage of that. But whenever I look at football coaches and the availability of clinics and education that they have available to them almost year round, there's definitely no comparison. I think there's a lot of work that has to happen on that end for sure.
Okay, well, Libby, I want to thank you for providing an excellent overview on the Texas High School Coaches Association and especially the Education Foundation and how you continue to work together to give the best opportunities for coaches to succeed. But for our viewers that are listening, if you were given the green light on any project over the next 5 years, what would that be?
I don't know what the project is, but I think whatever the project specific would be, it would center around recruitment and the retention of females, specifically female coaches to the profession. We are doing a lot of things heading in that direction, but when you talk about green light, like possibly magic wand, unlimited resources, if I could do whatever I wanted to do, I would I would inundate all kinds of resources just to those two pieces, because I think it has a huge, long-lasting impact on kids.
Okay, now that for the second part of my last question is, what advice would you give to young coaches seeking opportunities in administration? And maybe I need to revise that, or experienced coaches that maybe want to get out of coaching, but they want to go into administration. What's kind of your advice?
I've had this question asked me a lot, and I think this is a tough answer because sometimes it's not an answer that people really want to hear. So first of all, I think the biggest piece of advice is, if it's truly what you're being drawn to, then I think coaches have to be willing to change and to be willing to have, whether it's a change of location, whether it's a change of district. And I think a lot of females specifically get really comfortable. There are things that females have to take into consideration that maybe don't make them as mobile as males. And so I think there are opportunities specifically for females to get into administration. You just have to be willing to take that opportunity when it's there. And then the second thing is to be patient. I think that I was rejected several times. One of the first times ever, I was told no, that I couldn't get a job, that I wasn't going to get a job. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you didn't. So it took several different tries and several different interview processes before I had the opportunity, and it was the right time. And looking back, had I gotten the opportunity earlier, I would have my life would be way different. And so I think just be patient, and things happen the way they're happen, like when they're supposed to happen. So
Okay. All right. That's great. All right, Jayden, you want to tell us a little about how coaches can host a Go Kids Youth Sports Skills Trainer in-person certification course in their area?
I do. So if you ever wanted to learn more about teaching kids 10 and under, please head over to our Go Kids Youth Sports website and register to host a Go Kids certification at your facility. We're excited to conduct these 5-hour skills trainer courses, and those that register before the deadline will receive a discount on a 1-year VIP membership with RN Sports Gym, as well as an 8-week training program, one-on-one session with founder Ruth N. and access to this 24/7 virtual online gym.
Wow, that was a mouthful, Jayden. We
Yep.
want to thank all those Go Kids Youth Sports Skills trainers, as you're making a difference in these young kids' lives and assisting their parents by providing a blueprint of how their journey can be fun and exciting while learning the skills of volleyball. Remember to follow us on RN Sports Gym, like, tag, and share our stories. And thanks for joining us tonight with our featured guest, Libby, and how she's described all the wonderful plans she has for the next 5 years. We're going to wait and see these. And then next month, Wednesday, September 13th, we will have BYOP admin instructor Randy Decker, and Libby will invite you back when it comes around the state championship time for volleyball, so we can get more information from you about the girls volleyball teams, because you know our interest with BYOP is bring your own parent, and we love assisting. And we thank you also for I had a great time at the Texas High School Coaches School, and thank you for the invite.
are you kidding? Our coaches loved having you. It was one of our best rated sessions for sure. So
Oh,
appreciate
okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, you're being nice.
It was so good. It was so good.